Welcome back. Well, let's get two sides now of what seems to be a spat involving two political parties in the same coalition. It starts with Action SA saying they voted against a report proposed by the DA in the city of Tshwane that would see that city starting with a private project to generate electricity and reduce load shedding there. Action SA, of course, as you'll remember, is part of the governing coalition in Tshwane with the DA, which means it's voting against its own administration. Well, the DA is on hold to reply. First, let's hear from Action SA. Bongani Baloyi is their Gauteng leader. Bongani, good afternoon to you. What's wrong with this report? Why are you voting against it?
Well, Stevens, good afternoon and thank you for the opportunity. Well, firstly, the report is a blatant disregard and a violation of our coalition agreement, which stipulates clearly that once there's a dispute raised on a particular item, it cannot proceed any further to council until the dispute has been handled. So this has been escalated to the National Coalition Group, which deals with the disputes which can be resolved at a local level. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that the substantive issues we've been raising that have not been dealt with and responded to relate to the process which has been followed. Firstly, we believe that the process is fundamentally illegal. The procurement process is led by and from the mayor's office, and the preference to go for an unsolicited bid when there's such fluidity and lots of competitors in this process of generation of energy is suspicious. But equally, it does not meet the legal prescript for something to be categorized as an unsolicited bid. And this is where we have taken issue around those. And we've also noted that there's been comments from the provincial and national treasury which have not been supportive to this type of approach, and the serious question raised. But the DA and the mayor are insistent and hell-bent on forcing this down our throat. And this is where we've said, since they don't want us to resolve it within the coalition structure, we're going to get to council and not support the item. We have an electricity challenge in the country, but that does not simply imply that politicians can willy-nilly, and more so those who should not be part of a procurement space, direct officials in the city and insist that they must follow this route of procurement, but equally in direct officials on how to follow this route and which service provider to select. That is where we take issue on. This is a 26 billion rand project. It's not a Mickey Mouse project, so we must ensure that we safeguard the interests of the city, safeguard the interests of the residents by ensuring that all due diligence that must be in place have happened properly. Okay. And that's what the DA has not done.
Bongani, surely you're going against your own coalition. I mean, you run the risk of the coalition falling, the ANC coming in through the back door. I thought you didn't like the ANC very much.
We are quite clear that we are not supportive of this item. The coalition is intact, but we're not supportive of this item, and there's nothing wrong with holding each other to account. No one said the coalition is going to collapse. The issue here that the DA needs to select is choose the coalition or its mayor, because its mayor, the DA mayor is fundamentally doing something illegal. No politician must be involved in a procurement process, let alone say and imply to city officials that he has taken an executive decision and an unsolicited bid is what is going to be followed from the city, and a particular service provider will be preferred. That is fundamentally wrong. So we're not speaking about the health of the coalition. In our view, it's stable. The issue we have here is what the mayor has done, and we're dealing with that decisively and holding each other to account. The ANC is not going to come in on our watch, but the DA is not going to be allowed to do whatever they want in corruption. And mind you, this is the very same DA that challenged in the past unsolicited bid appointed by or awarded by the city. And now they are the ones who are leading it. So I don't understand what has happened to the DA.
The DA says this is all about the ego of your leader, Herman Mashaba. How do you respond to that?
It's pedestrian. It's mix of leadership that is aloof, that does not appreciate what the item is about. They don't even know what the item is about. They don't appreciate that this is a 26 billion rand for a potential corruption that is about to happen on their watch, in their hands. And we are the ones raising it. That's why you are speaking to us in media like this, because we have raised this thing and said, oh, South Africa, here's the problem that's going to happen. This will be probably a defining moment in either fighting corruption or perpetuating corruption in the city of Tshwane. So with the DA apportioning our reservations, which are quite substantive, about 26 billion rand, to whether they like our leader or not, is quite pedestrian and smacks of a party that does not understand the substance of the matter and the risk of the situation and condones corruption.
Bongani Baloyi, thank you. Gauteng leader of Action SA. Well, let's speak now to the Gauteng leader of the Democratic Alliance, Solly Msimang. Solly, good afternoon to you. I imagine I don't have to introduce you to Bongani Baloyi. I'm fairly certain the two of you know each other. Is there a problem with this contract in the city of Tshwane?
Well, first of all, there's no contract, and I think it is important that we put the facts on the table so that the public are not misguided or misled by Bongani Baloyi and Action SA. First of all, there is no contract. What is actually happening in the big hoo-ha, which, Bongani is basing on a recording that they have, and which, by the way, we are making public. We're making that recording public, is that the mayor had received a proposal. He took the proposal and took it to the officials and the officials is very clear. The very first 10 minutes of that recording, the mayor is very clear to say, this is the proposal that had been received. Can we look into, or can the officials look into it and make sure that they follow the legal prescripts, but also they follow the right processes? What today was all about was to then take the proposal to a public participation. So what was supposed to have been passed today was the process in which public members are now going to be brought into this whole process, and so that people will know exactly what has been planned and how this is going to be, rolled going forward. Let me also say to you, Stevens, that it is untrue that National Treasury and Provincial Treasury hasn't really given the thumbs up to it. There is a letter that is coming from the Provincial Treasury that says they can embark on the process of public participation and also then come back in terms of dealing with the numbers. And another point that I think needs to be debunked is the amount of money. The city is not in any way going to be liable for anything here. What this is a proposal of, coming from a number of companies that are coming together and saying, we would want to put, a solution for the city. All we want is that roll out, or hand over the mothball facilities. You will know those, Steve, in Pretoria West and the Eskom area and also in the Rooiwal area. So those are properties of the municipality that have now been not been used for a very, very long time, in fact for a decade. And this is something that, the private sector is coming and saying, we want to help you stop load shedding. We want to make sure that the people of Tshwane ultimately can have something that can use.
So, Solly, I understand that. The whole country wants to end load shedding, especially in the next 10 minutes. But the fact is that this is an unsolicited bid. There'll be no competitive bidding. I mean, is that really the right way to do this for a city as big as Tshwane?
Well, if you listen to the recording again, that has now created a whole lot of noise. The mayor is saying this is the process that needs to that is now on the table. That we might look at following the unsolicited bid, but also if this is not going to be taken this way, i.e., if there are more players that want to come on board, then this goes out to an open tender. So I don't know why there is that big noise about following a process of public participation. Because remember, Stevens, part of public participation is that there might be bidders who might themselves come during the public participation and say, hang on, if this is something that has been proposed, we have something similar that we will also be able to then roll out. And this is why we find it very, very strange that Action SA will now come and say that, first of all, they are not in support of public participation, but also B, that, they're having a problem that in at the local level, their own councillors were supporting this particular proposal and we're ready to go. And this is why the report had been tabled today in council. But at a national level, this seems to now have changed.
Solly, we've got 30 seconds left. Are you worried this could be the beginning of the end of your administration, your coalition in Tshwane? If Tshwane, also Ekurhuleni and Joburg with Action SA?
Well, we will hold our end from the DA side. We have upheld our coalition agreement, but we are seeing more and more of, the Action SA pulling away from the coalition agreement. And in fact, choosing to deal more in the public space than in the coalition technical team and the COG matters where they should be pulling those matters to and discussing those matters. But as from the DA side, we will continue to do what we have promised the people of Gauteng and the people of South Africa, that we want to build coalitions that work.
Solly Msimang, thank you. Gauteng leader of the Democratic Alliance. You saw also Bongani Baloyi, the Gauteng chair of Action SA. And you're allowed to be a little confused considering these two parties are supposed to be working together.